everyone. Welcome to I Take
We want to welcome you all. As you know, we want to just take 15 minutes of your time and share a couple of our own experiences in our marriage. We always say that we wish someone would have told us how things kind of go a little bit. Every relationship is not the same, but a little tip here and there doesn't hurt. So we want to remind you that we are on I Take D Ministry. You can follow us on Facebook, like our page, share our information with others, and if you have any questions that you want to ask, just private message us. So like that, we're not putting your information out there, and we'll try our very best to either bring a topic that you want us to bring, or that we try to answer your question in our videos. So what are we talking about today?
So today we're talking about marriage and social media.
Marriage and social media. What is that about?
So first I want to start off with a simple fact. So based on a Boston University research, they have triggered that most of the divorce rates have to do with social media. And basically most of it is Facebook. But the interesting part is that people who use social media, according to the research, says that 32% are more likely to leave their spouse because of social media.
Man, that's huge.
That's a big number.
Imagine, we're all on social media nowadays. Everything. there's hashtags for everything. We want to post everything on social media. I can't even tell you the times that I've heard of people say, "Hey, I'm on vacation," and then their home gets raided. People steal from their house because they know you're on vacation. So, this has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today, but don't post on social media when you're on vacation at that moment. People are watching and they're just waiting for your vulnerability. So we're going to talk a little bit about like the do's and don'ts, especially on like Facebook, although this can apply to Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever it is that you're on, that we pay attention, because our marriages are being hurt and damaged, and some are even on the verge of divorce, like my wife said, because of social media. So you got to be very careful. It's a powerful tool when you use it right, but when you use it wrong, it's also powerful to destroy a marriage and a family. So the first one I want to talk about is creating boundaries. It's important that we create boundaries, that you agree with your spouse what you're going to post, what you shouldn't post. This is not about like me controlling Carla or Carla controlling me. This is just about like, create some boundaries, that there's certain things that you shouldn't say, that you shouldn't share, unless you check with your spouse first.
Absolutely. I think that's really, really important. And based on boundaries, like how much time are you really spending on social media that you are actually not spending with your spouse?
I know. That you catch people just like this all day.
Yes.
In the same room. That's crazy.
Absolutely. So make sure that if you're on social media way too much time, and those are the red flags to your spouse, because as much time as you're spending on social media, that means that the less time you are spending with your spouse. So just remember that little thing. Yeah. So the next thing we want to talk about is about set your status as married. Right. So, me and my husband be researching Facebook and the status relationships and what is your status.
It's complicated.
It's complicated. What is that even?
Marriage is complicated. So, but
exactly.
Why even put that?
So why are we setting our relationships the minute that we have an argument or disagreement with our spouses? Oh, it's complicated. Oh, we're separated at the moment. Oh, we're exploring other things. Those are things that you keep confidential in your marriage. No one needs to know your business about what your status is on Facebook based on what you went through at home. Those are things that you keep private.
TMI.
Exactly. I think marriages, suffer the most because we are so easily to expose the flaws in our spouses, and we don't even look at ourselves in the mirror to begin to see our own flaws.
I know.
So I think that status updates in your account, if married, keep it that way. No one needs to know the trouble that's going on at home.
Even if you're upset with your spouse, that doesn't mean that you're going to write complicated. Because let me tell you, things just get complicated. You don't need to put all out there. Friends don't need to know all that. Well, the other one we want to share with you is to update your spouse on old friends or like flings that you had in the past, or exes. I'll share a personal story. One time, I had a person that was a female friend of mine, but it was, one of those like female with benefits when I was younger, and she requested, because the other thing I have with my wife is that we both have our Facebook together. That's another thing. I know we want to come out with all kind of excuses of why we don't have Facebooks together, but if you look for Carla and I, it's together. I don't have my own Facebook. She doesn't have her own Facebook. And so one time I had an old female friend who requested us, and my wife said, "Hey, honey, who's so-and-so?" And I was tempted to be like, "Oh, she's just a friend." But something inside of me said, you need to be truly honest with her. And so I said, "You know what, hon? She used to be a friend with benefits, a friend that I had for a long time. And my wife and I both decided, you know what? She's not the best to actually accept a request from. I know sometimes feelings are hurt, but you know what? At the end of the day, my relationship with my wife is a lot more important than accepting, exes or people I had a crush on. I don't want any of that, because I should never trust my flesh, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to create any temptations or opportunities for that to kind of sneak into my relationship.
I mean, you brought a perfect point. The scripture, the Bible talks about us, like, you don't go hang around with temptation. The Bible is clear. It says you flee from temptation.
Yeah.
Even though these exes, are probably things from the past, sure enough, they try to lure it in your presence, and many of those times they mess up your relationship.
They really
and
do.
With your spouses, regardless of, it can start as a simple, "Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in a long time," just checking in, and from there it goes to, "Oh, let's have some coffee, let's have some lunch together," and from there it turns to an affair. Let's be honest. Those are the things that we got to stay away from, and having ourselves share our friends, "Oh, who's this? Oh, do you know who this is?" That's what I share with my husband. I said, "Do you know who this is? That's friend requesting us." And if we both don't know the person, denied. I'm sorry if you're that's the way it's going to go, because if we don't know this person, then again, there's many people out in social media who they don't care about the status on your Facebook. They're just there for one night stand. They're just there to let's be honest. They actually are attracted to married women and married men. So you have to be really, really careful with that.
Absolutely,
One of the things that also we want to share is share your user password with your spouse. I know many of us are going to be jumping like, "What do you mean? He doesn't need to know my password. He doesn't need to know my username." Joel and I know each other's password from every single social media site that we have, business and non-business, and ministry, non-ministry. We share everything. And the thing about it is that creates the transparency in the relationship. I don't have anything to hide, because if he has a concern with something, he can go in and check with himself. I don't have to hide anything. And it also builds accountability and emotional security in your relationship.
Right.
That's the only reason why we talk about sharing your user and password. And again, let's be honest. If you have nothing to hide, what's the big deal of sharing that password and user with your spouse?
Right, exactly. And the other one is, make sure that your spouse knows the topics and updates that you put on there, so nobody's caught off guard. You don't want to create any of that. Again, just because it's your page doesn't make it so private that your spouse shouldn't know what's on it or what you're talking about or what's being shared. Just like I've seen folks that are like this. They're really like, and trying to hide it from your spouse, and like, that already is that's suspect. And you don't want to be in that situation. Don't be in that situation. Don't be in a situation where you got to be suspect about something. Be an open book, because that helps build trust. And the more privacy you have on your own, the more time you have to hide things.
Absolutely. I think that's absolutely right. And one of the other things that we wanted to bring up that we usually see it a lot, unfortunately, right?
Oh boy,
is,
here we go.
Avoid writing negative comments and statuses about how bad your husband or your wife is. I know Facebook status begins with "What's on your mind today?" That don't necessarily mean that you should say what's on your mind, because let's be honest.
Don't take it literal.
Exactly, be honest. A lot of things that are happening in our mind at that precise moment where we're angry are not always the things that we want to express out in the open for anyone to see, right?
Oh boy, I've seen some stuff that I'm like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. And then, you know, they expect you to like see that person and treat them like you used to. And it's like, I can't. You just put your business all out
You
there.
just blasted your husband on social media.
Oh my God, or your
now
wife,
everyone
like,
knows about your flaws. I say we're not perfect at all.
No.
But we have our flaws, we have our disagreement, we have our arguments, right? That's for no one else to know but myself and Joelle. You know, and we have to work on that out together. And of course, once you put a negative comment on your spouse, you can see the tons of people who pitch in to talk about your spouse and how the horrible person he is or she is, because everyone is an expert at relationships, right?
Of course.
So just be cautious of that. That not what's on your mind at that precise moment is something that Facebook really wants you to be posting and your spouse, because now you actually, you know, you burn the bridges on your spouse, on the situation or whatever you went through with him or her, and it's like now I'm exposed. You know, that brings, I don't know from a man's perspective, but from a woman's perspective, that brings my whole self-esteem and emotion all the way down.
No, for me as a guy, it's so embarrassing. It's also very, very disrespectful. I'm like, you gonna put my business out there? You know, I know I'm not perfect. You know, for my wife to be like, oh, he's this and he's that, and then her friends are seeing it, family members are seeing that, co-workers are seeing that, church member. Oh my God!
You name it.
Ooh,
everyone
your
is
boss
watching
could be seeing that.
in social media, and everyone knows your business about your marriage. Things that should be intimate and stay at home, because again, no one is perfect in a marriage relationship. And again, marriage is hard work. We never have said it here, and I take D that it's easy. It's really hard work.
Very, very
and
hard
unless you're
work.
not willing to fight for it and work really hard, it's just not going to happen. It takes a lot of work to have a healthy relationship with your spouse, and that's so vital and so important for you to understand how marriages and social media, some many cases, they collide. And you know, and taking, I'm not saying not do it. No, just take, if it's taking too much of your time, let's take a break from it. Let's detach from it. Something we have in vacation.
Some people
it's like
can't even take a break from it.
We don't even do social media during vacation.
Oh no! So I have a rule with my wife, because you know, in my job, oh my God, I can, if I didn't check my emails at my job, never mind the church emails and everything else that goes on, I could probably get 100 emails and they all require like a response. Some of you can relate to this. And when we go on vacation, the rule is, because I have the busiest phone activity, I don't take my phone. You know, if you really know me and there's an emergency, you know that I'm with my wife, so give my wife a call. And that's just the way it is. So, I mean, I challenge you. I challenge you, if you're one of those who is addicted to social media, that's the first thing you do when you wake up and the last thing you do when you go to bed, rather than, you know, spending some quality time with your kids, with your spouse, with your family members, loved ones, even taking some time for prayer.
That's right.
You know, you're spending too much time on Snapchat and with your filters and not enough time praying. Look, I'm not saying that because it's just you. We've been there. We've been in that position.
You know, one rule in our dinner table,
no
cell phones are allowed.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just, it's hard if you're addicted to it, right?
Oh,
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
You know, just it's like a drug. If you're addicted to social media, it's gonna be hard letting that phone go. But again, you know, marriages back in the days without social media lasted a little bit longer than today's marriages and this millennial are lasting. And unfortunately to say that social media has a humongous, I mean 32%, that's huge, humongous impact in your marriage.
Just be careful, and that's what we want to share with you. Again, we're not experts, we're just trying to share with you our own experience and things that, you know, we could have avoided. So we want to remind you that this is I Take D Ministry. We're not expert. We're just trying to share our own information with you and our own experiences. You can private messages if you have any questions that you would like for us to answer. And also, you can share with us activities or topics that you want us to share.
Absolutely. And remember, you must disconnect to connect.
Oh, I like that.
Take care. Until next time.
Take care.